Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Thanks for joining me today. So far, this month of April is averaging about 1.5 degrees cooler than average. We're going to make up for that here over the next several days as temperatures soar up into the low 70s. And in fact, Thursday, there could be some temperatures close to 80 during the afternoon. That's right about the time when we get our first 80-degree day of the year. Fortunately, not a lot of severe weather. Slight risk for the day today down across parts of West Texas. They need rain down there. They're happy to get it, but they're not happy to get the severe weather and potential hail. But it's only a level 2 slight risk, and you can see the level 1 marginal risk does come up into Iowa, and there's also a secondary area in Georgia and South Carolina. We'll take a look at the severe weather outlook area for Thursday, and same area, only it's a level 1 outlook for an isolated report of wind damage. I don't think they'll get much in the way of tornado activity down there on Thursday. And you can see lower Michigan is all green here, but that's a light green, and that means we have a chance of a thunder shower, but it would not be severe. So the next couple of days, I can't rule out a shower or thunder shower, but again, that activity would be pretty widely scattered. We'll take time out now and thank our sponsors, starting with Complete Care Concierge LLC.
And Complete Care Concierge LLC is the fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service that has you covered, whether you need home cleaning, cleaning for your condo or your rental, your apartment, your office, your business. They've got you covered. They can do special situations. They can do routine cleanings. They even clean on the weekends. Whatever you need, they can do a spring clean. They've got you. Their number is 616-264-1397, 616-264-1397, and we're so thankful for Complete Care Concierge LLC being our sponsor. And here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
And thanks to Ace Hardware Handyman for sponsoring our segment today. 66-hour precipitation totals. There's going to be a bunch of it off to the west of us right here. In fact, you're going to see some heavier rain in a band from upper Michigan on down toward Texas. We're a little concerned in upper Michigan because the snow has been melting up there, and that combined with some significant rain would cause some of the rivers to get fairly high, but not a whole lot along the rivers there to cause any super major problems this time out, I don't think. The yellow color indicates about 1.5 inches of rain there from Iowa on down toward Texas, and much of the country is seeing that chance for rain. Anybody on vacation in Florida should see beautiful sunshiny weather down there and warm temperatures. They've been running close to 90 down there, and they're going to stay on the warm side here. In terms of snowfall, that's the least amount of snow I think I've seen on a map like this since early October. There's still going to be some snow there in Wyoming. I zoomed in on this map as far as I could, and I actually count 10 states that are going to get at least a dusting of snow somewhere. So there's a little bit of that going on out in the west. It was snowing on some of the higher elevations of the Tetons and Yellowstone National Park. And by the way, the 11th state that's going to see some snow is up in Alaska, where it's kind of interesting. Take a look at the next picture here, pictures, and I got 2 pictures from FAA cameras up in Alaska. Utqiagvik, Alaska, that's also known as Barrow. Tuesday evening was bright and sunshiny. They still have snow on the ground up there. They get actually less snow than Grand Rapids gets during an average winter. It's kind of a desert up there in the wintertime. It's so cold, the air can't hold a lot of moisture. But look at the high temperature and low temperature yesterday. The high was 10, that's all, and the low was 3. So it's going to be a little while until summer comes up there, and summer's on the cool side. At the Barrow Airport there, their average high temperature during July is 47. So that's a whole lot better than 10, but you can't grow much of anything up there. That is the Arctic tundra. In Arctic Village, Alaska, there's a beautiful picture there with snow up in the mountains and on the ground there in the foreground. Barter Island, Alaska, was the coldest spot in Alaska this morning with a temperature of 12 below zero. How about that for the end of April? All right, let's move along and get back to our weather a little bit here. Headlines: chance of a shower or thunder shower today. They'll be few and far between. Most of the day should turn out to be dry. Dry Thursday with some sunshine for most of us, and then there'll be a chance of a shower or storm again here during the day on Friday. And a warm pattern this week. Next several days, temperatures will be at least up into the 70s here. And we're going to erase that 1.4 degree cooler than average April that we're having so far. By the way, the month of April so far, average wind speed has been 12 miles an hour, so it's been a windy month. All right, today's weather: high temperature at 72, low temperature at 48. There is that chance for a shower or isolated thunder shower. Humidity levels drop to 55% during the afternoon. That's pretty nice. And once again, winds will be fairly light today. During the day, about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Okay, let's take a look at some high temperatures here and what's ahead here for the next several days. This is for today, and as you can see, we're in the low 70s here in Grand Rapids, mid 70s down toward I-94. At the lakeshore, that southwest wind will hold temperatures to a high of around 60. Much of the day should be in the 50s, so if you're right by the lake, you might want to think about taking a jacket along. Outlook here for Thursday, that's going to be the warmest day of the bunch, and look at that orange color popping up into lower Michigan. That's temperatures in the upper 70s to around 80. We've got 80 out for Kalamazoo and areas south of I-94. Temperatures will still reach 70 up toward the Traverse City area, by the way, if the wind can hold out of the southwest. Where the wind comes in off the bay, it's going to be cooler than that. And taking a look at Friday, we start to cool off just a touch. Instead of upper 70s to near 80, we'll be in the low 70s. And once again, temperatures will be a bit cooler near Lake Michigan. Long-range outlook, we got temperatures here in the low to mid 70s for Wednesday, near 80 on Thursday. Friday's high temperatures back into the low 70s here. Some pretty flowers to share with you there, courtesy of the National Weather Service. And taking a look at the long-range outlook, we continue to see the same pattern with warm temperatures, warmer than average temperature. Average high temperature for today is 61. And as you can see, we're in the low 70s here Wednesday and Thursday. That should be 78, and I got those reversed. Sorry about that. Thursday should be 78, and Friday should be 72. So anyhow, good weather, good weekend coming up. Temperatures will be in the 60s. We should see a fair amount of sunshine here for Saturday and on Sunday. Now onto the long-range outlook, and we'll be seeing again above average temperatures over much of the country. That cold air up in Alaska shows no signs of coming down here, which is a good thing. And rainfall, again, should be near to slightly above average here in West Michigan. So all in all, a warm and fairly damp pattern shaping up here. So, Michelle, it really doesn't look too bad here. Outside chance of a shower or thunder shower during the day today, and we'll continue to have those chances. Probably the day most likely to see rain would be Friday.
And there you two are. Look how good you look.
And we had a great day. I got Mom some chocolates and a jigsaw puzzle from out at the Meyer Gardens and snuck that home without her seeing it. She made some nice soup for dinner and a salad to go along with it. And we just had a great day. She's already turned in. It's a little late. Here in Michigan, it's after 11 o'clock. But we had a great 47th anniversary for us. 3 years to go if we can make it that far and get an even 50 out of it. Have to buy something silver then.
And a couple of sports things to pass on. Michigan State women's gymnastics had its highest finish in a long time, the first time that they made a nationals appearance since 1988. They got a new coach recently, and there are a couple of people from West Michigan representing on the team. There are the Lebster sisters from Holland, Michigan, and Katie Duplessis from Spring Lake. So congratulations to them. And on the men's side, the University of Michigan won the NCAA national title this year, and there are 2 bronze medalists from the 2024 Paris team on that team, and Stanford finished second and Oklahoma third. So congratulations to those Michigan teams.
Where would they go to practice if they're here in Michigan? Would they go to Michigan State, or is there a place here around Grand Rapids where they can practice?
Yeah, the schools have their own facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure they train at their own gyms when they're on break.
Mm-hmm. Neat.
Okay,
well,
so
congratulations.
Yeah, scouring the internet for things that happened in West Michigan on April 23rd. Here's what I came up with. On April 23rd, 1844, someone named Roger Butterfield was born in New York. He ended up moving to Grand Rapids. He was a lawyer. He was involved in lumber and furniture businesses. He was kind of a big deal. Anyways, that's your Grand Rapids connection for April 23 is that Roger Butterfield was here in the 1800s. And I couldn't find a picture.
Find information like that. I mean, is there some book that has a history of
Scouring the corners of the internets.
Okay.
I could not find a picture that I knew that we could use. I couldn't find one that I was sure was public domain. So you're going to have to imagine what he looks like. If you really want to know, you can Google it. So
I wonder if he had a mustache.
maybe.
Never know.
Okay, it is Take a Chance Day. And we all know playing Monopoly that community chest was better odds. But anyways, chance comes from the Latin word cadere, which means to fall, as in how luck falls.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of neat. Do you remember playing Monopoly here at home when you were a kid?
Oh, yes. Okay, so when we would go visit my grandparents, his parents, it was Lawrence Welk followed by Monopoly. That was family fun, although we traded it up with bingo quite a bit too.
Yeah, that's good. And sometimes we had, instead of going to jail, we went to Grandpa's house.
Because the jail guy was pretty scary looking.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
All right, so let's see what you remember. How many railroads on a Monopoly board, and can you name them?
4. Reading, that's one. Let's see. There are 3 others, aren't there? You know how long it's been since I played Monopoly?
Let's still play it as family game night. We have it. That's where I got all these pictures that are about to be in this.
Okay. We got the Reading. Let's see if I can remember another one. The Reading is the first one, I believe. It's right after the Purple Streets, Mediterranean and Baltic. And let's see. I don't know. The name kind of escapes me right now. I'm
one is named after a state.
Pennsylvania.
There you go.
Okay. And give me another hint.
One is 2 letters and an ampersand.
2 letters, or you mean 2 words?
2 letters with an ampersand in the middle.
B and O?
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
Okay. All right. And then we got one left. All right. Give me a hint.
The opposite of tall.
The opposite of Paul?
The opposite of tall.
Oh, tall. Short.
There you go. And
short line?
Short line. Very good.
Okay, cool. Well, that's neat.
Okay, if you own the electric company, you'll get more rent if you also own this other utility.
The waterworks.
Excellent.
Yeah, got that one.
All right, Elizabeth Magee patented the landlord's game in 1904. That's what it started out as. But Monopoly was published by the Parker brothers in what year? Franklin Roosevelt was president.
Okay, I'll guess sometime after the Depression, so it would be, I'll guess 1935.
Very good.
Whoa, that was a pure guess, everybody, a pure guess.
Yes, we don't let him see these ahead of time, so we got to keep it fair. So good job.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
In Monopoly, the $5 bill is what color?
Oh, let's see. Pink or lavender or something like that, whatever it is.
In 1995, the Parker brothers apologized for misspelling this yellow property. It was meant to be the namesake of its real-life community near the neighbors, Atlantic City and Ventnor City. And I didn't know that these were actual places, but they are in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, everything's an actual place here. Let's see. That's let me read it again here. Misspelling of a yellow property. Okay, the yellow properties are Atlantic City, Ventnor, and what was the third one? Because Illinois and Indiana are the red ones up top. So and then you got the green ones, which is Pennsylvania and over there. Let's see.
North Carolina, I think, is a green one.
Yeah, North Carolina is a green one. Okay. Let's see. What's the other yellow one? Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I give up.
Marvin Gardens.
Marvin's Gardens. Yes. Why didn't I remember that?
In real life, it's Marvin Gardens.
Wow. Did you take
And
all
it's a
these
cool
pictures?
place. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
I got out our Monopoly board. Yes, otherwise they'd have disclaimers on them. But if someone wants to use these for their own purposes, I don't care.
Is it? Do you know anything about it? I mean, they have Monopoly in different countries. I mean, would all of that be?
They do. It's been sold all over the world, and they've made various versions of it, like the Wisconsin
There's
Monopoly that
I
you have.
think they have a Grand Rapids Monopoly game.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so since no night at the Steffen grandparents' house on Spencer Avenue in Wilmette, Illinois, was complete without also watching Lawrence Welk, let's do some of that too. So Lawrence Welk was a native of what state?
North Dakota.
Excellent, which was also your 50th state. Yay.
That's correct. And that's interesting. And whenever I think of the number 6, I think of Lawrence Welk because it's a
Why?
1 and a 2 and a 3.
Ah, yes. The Lawrence Welk Show started on local television in Los Angeles, and then it went national in 1955 when it was picked up by this network.
ABC.
Do you
Yes.
remember when it was on ABC?
I was from 55 till, let's see, it went a long time.
I only ever remember it being a show on public television, but I guess it
Well,
had a
and
whole
then it
life
went in
before that.
syndication, I think, for a short time, and any station could pick it up.
Mhm.
It had good ratings. The audience was older. I mean, if people remember watching Lawrence Welk, it was sponsored by Dodge, and it was sponsored by Sominex. Take Sominex tonight and sleep. And then there was what else? Geritol was another one. And then they had the bubbles coming up in the back and everything else like that. Yeah.
I was reading on Wikipedia there was drama over the bubbles because they first made them out of soap and the musicians didn't like it.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
And they
I
used to
can
blow the
understand
bubbles.
them doing that.
They used to blow them for the entire hour.
Yeah.
And
it
then
would
they
get
finally,
slippery.
like-
The floor would get slippery. And they were
Yeah.
afraid one of the old people there slipping and falling.
Mm.
But very interesting. And some people were there from the beginning, like Myron Florin, and some just popped in for a year and then left. The
Okay, the final Lawrence Welk Show was produced in what year?
1982, maybe. Wow, look at that. A twofer tonight, everybody.
Yes. Yes, sometimes you just
Wow.
know. So
The-
there you
these-
go. You got them all.
These are educated guesses, okay? And I have watched the program, so I've learned a little bit about it. And Gail and I do like to watch it. My father was a professional big band drummer for a while, so I can kind of relate to that. And my father grew up in the Chicago area. Lawrence Welk was in Chicago for some time. He kind of moved around a lot. But my father played in I think 15 or 20 different bands. They would go to the musicians union and the union used to line up work for him. My dad played in some of the house. I'll tell you an interesting story. Did I tell you about the Chicago, you know the group Chicago, right?
Yeah.
I got to introduce them once in Muskegon. It was probably the biggest live crowd I've ever been in front of. There were
Cool.
7,000 people there.
Hmm.
I was scared, but I did fine. The saxophone player, Walt Perizader is his name. His father was Walt Perry. He was also Perizader, but he shortened the name to Perry. And he played with my father for a little bit. His father and my father played in the, I think both of them were for a while in the house band at the Edgewater Hotel, which is the pink hotel on the north side of Chicago there, right about where Lakeshore Drive ends and it becomes stoplight after stoplight on every corner.
Well, that would make sense. Musicians in Chicago in that time period probably all bumped shoulders at some point.
Yeah, isn't that something? And my dad played big band, swing, and jazz, and would go down and jam with some of the big time jazz players on the south side of Chicago at a place called the Dreamland Cafe. And I don't know if there's anything about the Dreamland Cafe. There must be something about early jazz in Chicago. But my father was born in 13, and he got a set of drums when he was in about, I don't know, was it 6th grade or something like that. So he was pretty good by the time he was in high school. And then he worked at the family little company there on the Southwater Market, and then he would go and play his drums. And he had my father bought a hearse to drag the drums around in. And it was interesting because in Chicago, I don't know if this is true anywhere else, a funeral was allowed to go through a red light, and everybody would stop, take their hats off, because everybody wore hats, fedoras, and whatnot back then, and they would allow the hearse to go through.
Yeah.
So here comes my dad with his drums, and everybody would stop. It's the craziest thing. But Dad had a great time doing that. He played Latin jazz, had a really nice set of those maracas from Mexico that were hand painted and everything that he treasured.
Is it true that he played in speakeasies during Prohibition?
He did. I know he did one summer. He probably didn't want to tell me everything. Yeah, he was. This was an interesting story too. I had to write a book and write all this stuff down. I don't know if this would be interested. People would be interested in this, but okay. So he comes in and he was in the band. He wasn't the head of the band, but he was in this band, and the band leader comes in and says, "Hey, I got great news. I got us a job for the entire summer." And this was, right at the start of the Depression. So people were looking for money. Mm-hmm. And he says, they're going to pay us $5 a piece each night. And the band is like, "Wow, this is amazing." And what they did is they took a boat across Lake Michigan to around the Benton Harbor area. And then they took a bus, a rickety bus, to this place. And they were all set up, ready to play. And, it's like 9 o'clock and there's nobody here. 10 o'clock, nobody here. 11 o'clock, all of a sudden the doors swing open and all of these people come rushing in. Evidently they had a casino going that the mob did somewhere east of Benton Harbor. And of course they had paid off all the officials and whatnot back then so they could do this. And the police said you had to stop the casino at 11 o'clock. And so the mob said, okay. So at 11 o'clock, everybody came in and had something to eat and listened to the band for a couple hours. So that was kind of neat. But my dad told about working some of the parties on the North Shore of Chicago. Some of the rich people up there and whatnot would have a party, and they would pay $5 a night to have somebody come up and play in a little group. And my dad was all for that. So it was.
Sometime we'll have to find his pictures from when he was in Europe before the war. Because he did a music tour before World War II, and he's got some fascinating pictures.
Northwestern University sponsored a band to tour Europe and demonstrate American music. And Dad was picked to be the percussionist of that orchestra. And so I think that who's the orchestra leader? Dwayne Woodruff, maybe? And so they went over on a ship and played on the ship to earn their way across. And they were in Europe, I believe, for 5 months. And
wow.
They played in France and Germany, and my dad was over there, and he came back and he said, "Hey, there's this crazy guy in Germany named Hitler, and we're going to be at war with this guy. The guy's like Napoleon. He wants to conquer the world." So my dad quit the band, and in 1940 went and enlisted in the Army because he didn't want to be just a buck private with a rifle. He wanted to be a little higher up the food chain. So all of a sudden in 1940, he just left his mother a note and said, "I'm joining the Army. I'll see you whenever." And so he went out to Rockford for basic training, Rockford, Illinois, and then into Missouri, where he was there for, my dad became a machine gun instructor. Did I ever tell you that story?
I think so.
Hanging on here. Some of you probably have to go to work or something like that, but this is an interesting story too. The commander comes in and he says, this is in Missouri. He says, we need somebody to be the machine gun instructor. Anybody, familiar with shooting a rifle? And my dad was like, "Yeah, I've shot a rifle before and all that kind of stuff." So then he says, "Has anybody here ever fired a machine gun?" And nobody raised their hands. And so then the guy says, "Okay, is anybody from Chicago?" Because that was mob central, machine guns and everything. And so my dad raised his hand and he said, "Okay, you're going to be the machine gun instructor." So he did that. And
solid logic there.
Yeah. And eventually my dad was transferred to the Army Air Corps, and he toured around. He spent some time in North Carolina, in Alabama, in Illinois, Missouri, California, and then came back and finished up at Frederick Army Airfield in Oklahoma. He was there for a couple of years. And then he was almost career military, and then he decided to come back and help take care of his mother, who was getting old. His father had already passed away And so he came back to Chicago and got a job working the line at Bell and Howell for 75 cents an hour. And with the condition that he could work his way on up, which he did, and he eventually became chief liaison engineer.
And in one of the records that I ordered for the Luxembourg project, I had to get their marriage certificate. So John and Louise, your parents, my grandparents.
Right.
And I guess it was a big thing with grandma that she wanted to get married before 30, but the license was filed a couple days later and it actually says 30.
Yeah. Right. And my dad was, my mother was just shy of 31, I think. And my father was just shy of 37. Because,
And Anne said that she would be super bummed if she knew that it said 30 instead of 29.
Yeah, but that's all right. And they had 54 years together, getting married in your 30s and still getting 50 years in is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I was 26, Mom was 29 when we got married.
I was also 29, but by 2011, it wasn't taboo to be 29.
Oh yeah, everything has changed, but people live longer, and I think that's a big deal. When the average person died at age 45 back in the 1800s, I mean, you didn't have a whole lot of time to waste. Mm-hmm. So now that people are living to be 80 and 90, and they have time to get settled, and then to learn what they want to do. I was who knows where I was going to live. I wanted to be a TV meteorologist anywhere. It could have been in Minot, North Dakota, or, I applied for a job once to launch weather balloons off a ship in the Caribbean.
Was I alive at that point? Because that would have been fun.
Oh, no. That was when I was single.
Sometime we've got to tell the story about when you were at 13 and Channel 8 was sending off your demo tape to other stations.
Yeah, that actually happened. Let's move this guy out of town. So yeah, that was that, and that happened in a lot of places.
That's one way to play defense.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, you would get these calls saying, "Oh, we saw your tape. Are you interested?" And you'd be like, "I didn't send you a tape."
Right. Yeah, I was quite content here, and I learned early on that the people that were still doing this, when they got to be 60, were people that stayed in one place. And went out and did the school speeches, did the charity work, and really got to know the town and the weather that town, experienced.
Some of them still do weather, and other ones go work in real estate and corporate communications.
Yes. How many PR directors at hospitals in Grand Rapids over the years have been former Channel 8 employees?
Many.
Yeah, I mean, probably a handful of them. So. That's what happens. We had one guy who left and worked for the State Department, became kind of a spy.
The late nights are kind of a whole thing. Our whole family were all night people because Dad worked night shift growing up.
Right.
I don't think we ever did Christmas before 10 a.m. and even that was probably early. It was usually more like noon. Yeah,
I did the morning shift from when I first got here in 74 until 1985. 1985, Craig went to 8. I moved up to prime time, and I've been working evening shifts ever since.
Even today, I still choose night shifts at work because that's just what I've been used to since I was a little kid. And I used to think it was so unfair that there was no school I could go to that would start at 1 p.m. and be done at 7 that would accommodate the crazy schedule that we were all on.
I knew one school that did that routine, and that was the neighboring school had a tornado that destroyed the school. So they combined, and one group, one school district went to the classrooms from 7 till 1, and the other one from 1:15 to 7:15.
If online school had existed back in the day, I probably would have been begging you for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also probably would have just played the piano all day. So, you know,
and you are really good at that.
So we got kind of off topic, but thank you for watching. If you're still watching, please subscribe to the YouTubes because that tells the algorithms to help us grow. There's a link to the merchandise store in the comments. You can get your Bill Steffen t-shirts. It's cooler by the lake. You can get that on a mug or a sticker or whatever. Thank you for supporting us and for supporting our sponsors. And we'll let Bill say goodnight.
And it will really be cooler near the lake the next several days. So while we're talking temperatures in the 70s, that's inland. Right at the lakeshore, it may be in the 50s. Hey, have yourself an awesome day. Thanks so much for checking out the weather here and our trivia. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.